How is it? Do you know this sense? You are considered at the top of your generation of actors. You are. I mean, just take that as given because it's been written.
That's nice.
But you are. I mean, do you know how that happened? And is that some process that is beyond you and whoever else?
I mean,
Was it roles taking place at a certain time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I think, there's a great, you mentioned Joe DiMaggio. Well, if you think about Branch Rickey, he has a great line about luck is the residue of design.
Yeah, right.
And it really, that's how it feels to me. A good 3/4 of it is luck, and then there's another little part of it that is things that I've done.
Someone else said that something like opportunity is 90% perspiration and 10% inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's Edison, actually.
Yeah,
that said that. Right,
and probably different
And then Woody Allen
percentages.
says all you have to do is show up.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I feel like I've done.
You've showed up.
Yeah, I've always loved acting. I've loved the arts, all of them, and I've just kind of, I've always tried to do it. I mean, if you're a star in Dead Poets Society, when you're 18 years old, you can't take credit for too much.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a huge blessing. I'm working with Peter Weir and Robin Williams. It's my first movie. I'm 18, and all of a sudden, just doors of opportunities opened up for me. Where I didn't even know. I didn't know
There's
what.
no downside for that.
No, well.
There is.
The downside could be that you.
You create expectation.
Yeah, and you have to learn in front of people. You mentioned at the start of this that I've written a book and I've done stuff with the theater company, and it's been my job with myself to try to keep educating myself.
Right.
The trouble is, once you have a certain bit of celebrity, everybody's kind of watching, why is he doing that? Why does he, what does he think he's William Faulkner? And you kind of go, no, but I want to explore other things. I started acting when I was, 18. Why? I don't have to do just that my whole life.
Let me talk more about you in terms of this 2 years you took off. What did you do? Is that when you wrote the novel?
Yeah, I made this movie before Sunrise with Richard Linklater, who directed Slacker, and really interesting guy. And I found it so inspiring that I'd been working with this theater company for a long time, and I kind of put that together here in New York. We put together this great season where we did 3 plays back-to-back, new plays by new young playwrights. Because, we live in a time period where it's very difficult. Sam Shepard, Arthur Miller, these, famous guys are being produced off Broadway. It's very difficult for these guys to find, people to perform.
A house where they can.
So that was really fun, and that got me in an environment where I kind of ended up getting the courage to finish this book that I've been working on and decide to publish it. And once I decided to publish it, I became obsessive about it, and I basically worked on it for a year. I mean, I'd been working on it for a long time, but then I just rewrote the whole thing.
And what did the experience of doing that say to you about wanting to do it again and enjoying that act of writing?
It's the first thing that, as an actor, people talk about you in the press, and they do these weird things, and they make little flip comments about you, and it can hurt your feelings if you pay attention to it. And for some reason, it really liberated me.
The fact that people took shots at you for writing a novel at your age with not having written before, etc.
Well, basically, I'm a dubious character because, to the publishing world is just as bad as every other world, which is that if it's marketable, let's do it.
Right, exactly.
So there's no guarantee that you're getting any quality when when it's coming from me. Because I think
his name and his celebrity,
he will probably sell a couple books.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's my life, and do I want to publish a book or not? Just because of that doesn't mean it's not good. And if I want to publish again, it might be good to get this part of the party out of the way. And but I was so afraid of.
Go ahead.
I was afraid of being made fun of everything. And the funny thing is about the joy of doing it, and the fact that some people really liked it, everything like that, was so liberating. You realize that people can make fun of you all you want, and you're not going to die. Yeah. And it's and for a long time, you actually don't think that.
And when did you reach that point of knowing? Because at some point, if you are in the public eye, you have to come to that point and to say, I've got to take chances and I got to do what I want to do.
Or else I'll really stop growing.
Oh, stop growing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to take a shot, and somebody's going to say, he's not worth a damn.
Yeah.
Or B,
mean,
he didn't do what?
They can be mean too.
Yeah.
They can really get you where it hurts. Yeah.
Well, what's hurt?
Oh, saying that you're performing fellatio on yourself, and
Oh,
you
yeah,
know what I mean. I mean, there's like, you know, it's like, when you kind of read it, you go,
this is an effort at self-masturbation.
yeah. You know,
and you said, I didn't think so. It wasn't what I was doing.
Yeah, I was trying to offer up
I know
something.
better ways to have fun than to.
Yeah, really.
To
if I wanted to do
this.
that, I could do that.
Yeah. So where would you like to be when you're 30?
Where would I like to be when I was 30? Well, right now, I'd hope that my
your son or daughter will be 2.
2.5 healthy-year-old kid. That's really the first thing. And my biggest goal for myself is to try to be as little achievement-oriented as possible. And to concentrate actually on making sure that I stay awake, in that, you know, you don't kind of just are asleep at the reins. And I don't want to be an actor if I'm not going to continue to challenge myself at it. See, it's tricky when you start really young, because you have to continually reevaluate your relationship to your art, your craft, your whatever it is, acting, whatever you call it. You got to reevaluate your relationship to it, because the reasons why I perform now are different than when I was 13. You know, I mean, and you have to.
Well, then why do you perform now?
Well, right now I'm interested in kind of the craftsmanship of it. You know, when I say that Gwyneth, it comes really easy for. I'm interested in it as not as some kind of artistic expression, as I was. You know, when I was a little kid, please hear me. Somebody tell me I'm special. You know, somebody. Yes. You know, and then you get into this like you're in your early 20s, and you're like, you know, I want to express myself. I want to show how miserable I am. You know, and then now I'm kind of interested in.
How do you do this really well?
How could I be really good at this?
Yeah. And how do you find that out?
Well, I mean, you study other people.
Well, do you? And then who do you study? Who do you look to as?
I think that you mentioned Jack Nicholson. I actually think that Jack Nicholson is the greatest living screen actor, perhaps the greatest screen actor of all time. You know, I really think so. I mean, nobody. You can sit young. Everybody loves Jack. It's a mystery. He's embodied something to the country. You know, this every poor schlup who's stuck working in a factory. You know, this relate to this mischievous look in his eye. Women love him. You know, he's the great classic anti-hero. Yeah. You know,
and you know what else he comes across, and to know him a little bit, it is that the sense that he's true to himself. Yeah. He is saying exactly to the world,
this is who I am.
This is who I am, and knowing exactly
who that is, and being in touch with that.
He's the most authentic of people.
Mm-hmm. You get it, there's so little artifice. And I think the question with your life is just to figure out, okay, so who is that for me? Because, you know, I can't walk around and try to be Jack, you know? I mean,
well, that's pretty good.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, it's not true for me, you know? So the trick is to figure out, for me, you know, what is the best I can be.
You've got to learn something just working with De Niro.
Yeah, I was kind of deciding about whether to mention him or Nicholson first, but De Niro is, the thing about getting to work with De Niro was that again, you know, I mean, just such joy. You see the guy, you know, he's not scared to make a fool out of himself. The thing about becoming really successful, I think, for most people, is you get timid. You know, you don't want to lose any ground. That's the thing about people giving you lots of success, is you as an individual don't understand why they're giving it to you. So you start to get scared to move, because you think, if I just stay like this, they'll still think I look cool, you know?
I think that's the worst thing in the world, is to lose. You know, it's the whole notion of success, is that you stop taking risks because you're scared that you're going to lose what you have.
Yeah. It's almost designed to stop your growth.
What was it, Christopherson's song, you know, Sunday morning is...
Sunday morning coming down,
nothing more to lose.
Yeah, right.
You know? I mean, that idea, if you lose that sense of curiosity and risk...
Then that's what I mean. Then you should do something else. Yeah. You know, especially if you're involved in the arts. The thing about any of the arts is, my opinion is, what's so exciting about guys like Nicholson and De Niro, you know, like De Niro, I thought in Casino was one of his best pieces of work of his lifetime, you know. And when you stop, you know, aspiring to offer up anything, you stop trying to work hard, then, and it becomes a job like banking, then you've lost the artistry of it. You should stop.
For those people who are fascinated by you and, say, Uma and other people of your generation, in terms of whoever else is in that group, would they be, in your judgment, probably surprised by how much the two of you, just take the two of you.
Meaning me and Uma?
Yeah. Think seriously about how I'm doing in this business and thinking about the craft and thinking about the kind of things that we're talking about. They'd probably be surprised about that because there's a sense that what their lives about has nothing to do with these kinds of issues. It's about parties and being a movie star and all
everybody
of that
thinks
stuff.
This, that all you do is like walk in and out of premieres.
That's right. And you're at this restaurant and you're at this club at night, and then you have this extraordinary life that is not about, as you say, figuring out how do I do this really well.
People kind of have this idea. I think people want to think that there's these other worlds. They really try to push you into that you're they almost act in the same way with Clinton or something. I mean, to a much higher degree with somebody like that. But everybody's just playing their game. Everybody. Even Uma's just trying her best. Everybody was just somebody's daughter. Who's really trying their best. And you get a little lost, you find your way again. You get a little lost, you find your way again. I mean, and that's if you're doing really great. And so. I don't know. You do get that. It is funny, and nobody thinks you have any problems,
Right.
And the thing is, no matter what you're doing, it's so incredibly daily. No, you dream about, if only I had those problems. But when you have those problems, they kind of become problems.